Good beer.
So, you got Millhouse in Poughkeepsie, their pale ale, 5.4% alcohol, suggested serving temperature 38 to 42.
That's cool that they put that on the can.
Yeah.
Oh, they put all sorts of info on their can.
Now, pale ale, you got English, American, you got all global right now.
Well, and I hope Aaron, the other Aaron, throw his input. Me, personally, an IPA is an India Pale Ale. So an India Pale Ale, you get that bitterness. I like a traditional. I'm not a huge fan of the New England style IPAs. I like the old school traditional IPAs where it's got that clarity, it's got that bitterness, balanced with the maltiness, but not over malty, with a nice hop presence. Pale ales to me are more malt forward and hop backdrop. Nowadays, it seems to be the flip side of that. A lot of brewers are doing very, very, almost like mini IPAs in their pale ale.
Yeah.
That's how I
do tend to, I'll disagree with you. I personally love the cloudy New England IPAs, but I'm with you. I do think that a lot of pale ales tend to be on the hoppier, almost very borderline, IPA, and that's for me is a big bummer because it's almost combining the two styles together. Where pale ale, like you said, it is a very malty, really nice, backbone to offset that hops. I tend to always think more of a West Coast style where you have that like piney resinous that goes with that malt.
See, this is all a foreign language to me.
Well, that's how we felt for the first 30 minutes of this.
Facts, that's what he does. Right, Heisenbach? What are we talking about?
My box is not your box. My box is his box. Her box. That box.
You're all another language.
This is a very delicious pale ale, but it's a very hoppy pale ale. I do a pale ale. It's called the Simple Man Pale Ale. It's very malt forward, and it's got a nice backbone to blend nicely with hops, whereas this is very hop forward to me.
Definitely. So, but I gotta admit that for me, this is still really well rounded.
Oh, absolutely.
And it finishes with that, with the citrus isn't so overpowering, it blends almost with that malt.
So a pale ale, you're gonna get more of the malty, and you're getting that out of this.
Definitely.
Right? Now, the IPA, to differentiate, obviously it's going to be a lot more bitterness, a lot more hoppy. What about cloudy? Does it matter?
No.
Do you typically get more cloudy in a pale ale, or like an IPA as opposed to a pale ale? Should pale ales always be clear?
I think it always differentiates between what style that you're trying to do. If you're doing a West Coast style beer, it should be very clear and see-through. If you are doing a New England IPA, and you can see through it, then you've done something wrong. You're looking for that haze, almost like in a Hefeweizen. You want that haze.
Now, a New England type, New England style beer, are you yeast? How about what type of yeast would you typically use to brew a New England style as opposed to the West Coast?
I personally think that for the true New England style beer, you need the London Ale 3 yeast. It when you ferment with it leaves like a certain residual sweetness, and that sweetness I think helps really make the fruitier characteristics pop. And to me, that's the a London Ale. It comes. That's where it kind of comes from.
London Ale as opposed to California Ale, that's for your California style.
Yeah. California is more of a, like he said, it's very clear. It's clear, like a clarity in the beer, more refined. You get that sweetness, but it's also followed by a nice bitterness to it. Whereas New England IPAs are more or less just about the juiciness from the hops. Like it's your grain bill for a New England IPA is very minimal to none compared to a normal IPA. Whereas like a grain bill in a New England IPA might be a little bit of oats and Pilsner malt, and that's about it.
Pretty much.
And then loaded with hops over hops over hops, and then dry hopped on another. You know, if you're doing a 5-barrel batch, like on my size, you're doing a 5-barrel batch, you might add 3 to 4 pounds per barrel in the dry hop alone. It's a lot of hops. You know?
Yeah.
You look at, and then you're looking at like breweries like Equilibrium who are knocking this style out of the park, and Sloop that are just killing this style.
Other half,
single cut. All these brewers that are just like killing this style beer. Not in a bad way. I mean, like killing this style beer as in like producing
Great representation of the style in our area.
Style. Like,
Yeah.
they're just doing an excellent beer. I can't compete with that because they're just, I mean, they're putting hundreds of pounds of hops in one batch of beer. It's just like, it's unbelievable.
Interesting. Yeah, to get all that in.
Hundreds of pounds of hops, and you know, just going from German style hops, which are
Everything's calculated.
which are probably on the lower end of the cost spectrum. But you look at like Citra hops, you know, Citra hops are not cheap per pound. It's probably $16, $17
more.
a pound.
Citra hop right now is about 22
All
a
right,
pound.
22 a pound. So you look at 100 pounds of Citra hops in one batch of beer.
I mean, right now I do a 7-barrel batch. When I at Hyde Park, I never use the same hops twice. I've always done different IPAs every single time I've done them. But I feel for you. I'm looking at, if I'm doing a 7-barrel batch, I'm looking at putting in close to 12 to 14 pounds of my dry hop.
Yeah.
And that's not including my boil. But you do look at it. I mean, in a West Coast style, you're constantly hopping during that 60 or 90 minute boil. Whereas in a New England IPA, you're only dropping in during the whirlpool, and yet again your hot side additions are very modest, but that's because, like we said, you're dropping an enormous amount of hops during dry hop. To me, one of the cool things about a New England IPA that I like is that a lot of people before them thought that hops didn't really offer much flavor other than aroma when dry hopping.
Yeah.
And that people are now starting to notice that the heat produced just through fermentation is enough heat to actually pull out flavors from dry hopping. And your people are really creating a lot different variety of beer than they were creating 10 years ago.
How about Colorado? Okay.
Colorado?
Yeah, because they got a huge beer scene out there.
Oh, yeah, they do.
Do you find a trend that they're kind of leading into? Are they kind of shifting more towards like creating their own type of style, or is it a West Coast style, or is it a New England style, or a mix of everything? Do they got their own thing going on?
I've never been to Colorado. I would love to go to Colorado.
go every year.
I invited you to go to Colorado with me.
Absolutely.
You shot me down.
I go every year.
Do you?
Yep.
When?
I go in April for my birthday.
Jesus, let me know.
I actually gotta say, I just went to the Great American Beer Festival with my friend. It was really wonderful. My friend's brewery was pouring beer. He invited me.
Nice.
It was the opportunity of a lifetime. But I gotta tell you, I went to 15, 16 breweries in that week, just that in the local area of Colorado, and I wouldn't put any of their beer on what we have in the Hudson Valley.
No.
That's the thing. It's Hudson Valley. I mean, I took a 3-month cross country road trip, and I'm telling you, I think Hudson Valley has by far some of the best beer in the U.S.
I attribute that to when you look at breweries that are specializing in using Hudson Valley ingredients solely, and not like a nod on myself, but there's a lot of brewers doing, like Plan B Farm Brewing Company, for instance. He uses Hudson Valley malts, and then he grows his own ingredients for his beers.
Yeah, he incorporates
cooler, he gets his
things
yeast
from the
from
farm.
bees.
Yeah, he gets
I
all
read-
his yeast. He harvests right from his
Nice.
own bees, and strawberries and fruits and things like that. Like myself, I use all Hudson Valley malts. You get a distinct flavor from that some people don't appreciate because they don't know what it is.
Let me look at these real quick.
Yeah, we got Elvis
We got a
juice.
Brewdog.
We got a Brewdog. I've been to the place in Scotland.
Me too.
In Aberdeen.
And I went to the one in Edinburgh.
Edinburgh.
No way.
I watched the show.
It's a great show.
That's about it.
And then
I
we
think
have.
we want to start with this one.
So we want to go with Elvis juice.
I would do, if I were you, I would do Elvis.
Hey, you guys know IPAs better than me, so.
I would do it like that, but that's just
Cool.
me.
Between those three, I'm gonna have to say, and I've drank this fresh at the brewery. That is fucking
It's so
phenomenal.
good.
And I'm not a huge IPA, but that is so phenomenal fresh at the brewery.
Yeah.
And when I went to the brewery there, I went to visit my wife's father, actually. And I landed.
Yeah.
And she was like, all right, listen, you got an hour. Do you want to go to the brewery? I was like, fuck yeah, I do, because we were right in Tampa. So we drove over to the brewery. She gave me an hour at the brewery, which was great. They had their Russian Imperial Stout. It's like, I forget the name of it.
Oh, I don't even know.
But it's got like a Russian dude on the front of it. And they had it in 3 different variations. They had the bourbon, they had the coconut, and they had their pineapple versions of it. And I was like, oh my God.
Pineapple stout?
Give me one of each. And I just sat
Really?
there. She's like, I didn't realize you could do so much damage in an hour. I'm like, oh, I'm not done yet. It's only got 10 minutes.
Really?
Nice.
Pineapple stout?
Unbelievable.
No
Unbelievable.
way.
Okay,
Now
so-
I know what I want to brew next.
I
There you
think
go.
this one,
Let's do it
should we
together.
do
Ever
the
had
grapefruit
pineapple
first?
cider?
No.
When I worked at Hudson Brewing, I made a pineapple cider.
Let's do a beer together.
Here we go.
We can get into
So
this.
these
Let's-
guys out in
let's do the
Scotland,
German version.
Facts, the Schwartz beer.
these Scottish like to do American style
Whoa.
beers, and us as
It
Americans,
smells
we're
like
gonna buy
straight
that.
grapefruit.
Straight.
Why do I
grapefruit.
get the freaking foamy head again, man?
Jesus, my God! Fire the server here.
Smell
Elvis
that. Tell me the
juice.
smell.
I'm gonna pass.
It does include grapefruit infused.
Oh, this
so
is-
smells so much like grapefruit.
yeah,
Really fresh. This is
6.5%.
This isn't a Radler?
So this is almost this is almost like the Schufferhofer
This is like they took a grapefruit and just squeezed
in
it
an
into the
IPA,
glass, Yeah.
as opposed
Oh,
to the.
yeah, yeah.
talking about
This grapefruit
So
juice is
anything
killing me.
on
This really makes
grapefruit-
me seem like, honestly, it's so
I
filled
need some
with
sugar.
grapefruit that it comes off like a Radler. There's no way they got this
there's-
just from hops.
There's
No,
no, it's
no,
not. No, it includes the juice. It's said on the can, so it's an infused with it. But the hops too.
It seems like right in the bright tank.
Yeah.
Like they dump 30 gallons
But
of
it's so
grapefruit
hard
juice.
because like you would feel
Yeah, like
you still get
Amaretti.
that, like I gotta say, Mega Boss is a cool company. They're right out of Newburgh.
Yeah.
You know, they're one of those really great New York companies, and you know, I think as a person from New York, you know, I think that's a really great representation of an IPA, and
Yeah.
I'm
All right,
grateful
7% alcohol. Now Newburgh, I know the brewer came from Brooklyn Brewery, opened up his own place in Newburgh. What is Mega Boss? What is that about? Does anyone know? Like, is that just their thing?
because
why they
there's
do it.
boss, you know.
Yeah. I don't know why he calls it the
Well, you
Mega
got boss, you got.
This is there's a boss, and then you got your Mega
Just
Boss.
curious.
And that's where you get Mega
Just-
Boss.
All right, there you go.
So I got
See,
for
this
you.
to me,
Cheers, guys.
this is what an IPA is.
Yeah.
I mean, I do like a good New England IPA from time to time.
So this
But
clear.
This is what I like in an IPA because it's got that bitterness, that sweetness, and it's all just really well balanced.
But for me, what I like about this is that it's not overly hopped. So like
No.
it doesn't have that
Yeah.
mouthfeel of actual physical hops. You know, you just get that nice.
It's not my style, but I
It's
love
not German.
Yes.
Das ist ich Bier.
That's
Ja,
weird.
nein.
I taste,
Boot.
I taste citrus. This is weird.
Das Boot.
No, there's citrus in there.
I
but
taste citrus. It's not German.